It is January 14th, 2022. I am listening to Channel 7 news. It's still within the rabbit ear range. Not astrologer, they call him a meteorologist. He says a word I have not heard the humans use often, which, when referring to a storm, he referred to it as astronomical. I was like, that's a very big imperative word. Is he actually vetted and verified in order to use such linguistical prowess? I don't know. I mean, there's no way for me to really know. But it's on Channel 7, which looks like this. And then it goes into a story of something I don't know how to read the situation, honestly, between the city of New York being so polluted and dangerously entangled in some other kind of break-in in my local area, while one of my familiar family members is experiencing quite the same story in a different area, or different state, let's say, while my state is under attack as well, by several methods. And there's false king messages at times on the teleportation device. I don't know how that system was compromised or was, I don't know, developed. I don't know who programmed it, who developed it, who allowed non-family members to start voicing business concerns and polluting the education of the family members that were residents. But it goes from this particular astronomical weather report into something called a moratorium. I don't know really what that means. I mean, I could fathom, but is it a short stack? Is it a tall stack? And which way does that run? It gets confusing what it actually means in New York City and how to keep my family members who are now in some kind of chaotic distribution safe throughout the system.
That's pouring in tonight. Wind chills by morning will be sub-zero in many locations, and actually in the dangerous levels. A lot of sunshine out there right now, but it's going to be uncomfortable this evening because of that gusty wind. See how it's 28 in Monticello, and that's the air that's pouring in, so temperatures will nosedive during the evening hours. By the time we see it 11 o'clock, 25, and a wind chill of about 10, and again, sub-zero wind chills by wake-up. Now, there's our storm in the middle of the country, bringing some big snows to the upper Midwest. It'll actually dive down into the Gulf. Tomorrow during the day, it's just sun and patchy clouds, but there it is coming up the coast with the first flakes or raindrops or ice pellets coming in during the evening hours on Sunday. So I'll give you all the timing and totals on that. But brutal cold to begin the weekend. The storm arrives Sunday evening. We're going to go from snow to sleet to rain. The process is going to be slower the farther inland you are. Expect strong winds and urban and coastal flooding, beach erosion as well. It's a powerful storm, even though it may not deliver big snow totals to much of the area. More on that in the 7-day in just a little bit. Listen, Dave.
All right, Lee, thanks a lot. Well, we are just hours away from when New York's moratorium on evictions expires. But protesters gathered outside the governor's office today in Midtown in hopes of getting a last-second extension. The moratorium has been a lifeline to renters who were hit hard financially due to the pandemic and could not make the rent. Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles with more.
I have a case in housing court right now, so it's paused, but not as of tomorrow.
With tomorrow marking the end of the 2-year eviction moratorium, tenants are anxious and desperate, pleading for more help.
My husband and I got sick with...
Now, are they not receiving foreign body intervention, like an FBI kind of like insurgence of money? Is this a campaign? Is it to squeeze on the landlords because somebody thinks like they're in a cushy lifestyle? It gets a little confusing at this level of psychosis.
With COVID.
Now, I dove headfirst into a republic. Not because I wanted to, just because it's where I landed. I've been in a republic as a republic, for which I stand, or did when I had to make pledge. What I'm unclear of is why my health has been suffering and the fat was never trimmed at adipose tissue level.
In March of 2020, I got long COVID. We're still dealing with that 2 years later, and we still need relief.
I know that the eviction moratorium cannot last forever. I know that.
But city leaders and tenants' rights advocates are asking for one more extension until the end of June 2022. They all rallied together on the steps of the New York Public Library Friday morning, then marched over to 3rd Avenue to Governor Hochul's Manhattan office to make some noise.
If you know that we need more money, if you know that we don't have the resources to give tenants to pay their landlords,
that's a comptroller.
How could you think it was a good time in the middle of winter, in the middle of the COVID crisis?
They also want to keep the emergency rental program open until the state gets all of the federal funding needed to pay off all debts, passing the good cause eviction bill that would prevent no-fault evictions, and passing the right to counsel law statewide.
They cannot be living from moratorium to moratorium, anxious if it's going to be extended or not,
I don't know those 3 things they put up. I don't know how to read any of them, don't know where to find any of them. They don't make it easy to access for my level of family member inside of the Republic. Again, if a state turns blue, I don't know what that really means in short and tall stacks. I don't know if it is quantifiably able to align and give one definitive answer at an imperative information one needs in order to protect themselves and their children. But this is some of the dilemma I've been thrust into and trapped within in a very specific time frame.
Now is the time for permanent protection.
But the end of the moratorium is what landlords have been asking for, saying it was intended as a temporary emergency response. The state of emergency was lifted last June. It's time to end the eviction moratorium.
It's frightening, and they, I can't believe that the legislature and the governor have allowed this to happen.
Governor Hochul was not in her office during today's protest. As for another extension, there was no mention of it during her COVID briefing today. In Midtown, Darla Miles, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
A surveillance video captured a parking dispute that ended in...
Now listen to this. Parking dispute that ended in someone being shot. The city is not safer as the teleportation device is portraying to whatever is sitting and receiving the message on the couch potato, whether it be of a Democratic or Republican registrar. It seems irrelevant. It's still one teleportation device. And I don't know why nobody has thought of all of these separatist pieces that are very relevant in developing autoimmune diseases, for which I'm currently suffering under and being electrocuted in the streets for reasons I can't even explain to myself.
Ended in gunfire on New Year's Day. In the video, you can see a 27-year-old man running up to a Jeep SUV on West 38th Street in Midtown. He exchanges words with the driver. Seconds later, police say the driver took out a gun, shot the 27-year-old in the arm, and then sped away. The Jeep was recovered.
The city's not safer
The victim is
at all.
recovering. The gunman remains on the loose. Police hope someone recognizes him and contacts them.
New Jersey State Police are investigating a road rage incident on the Turnpike. It happened Wednesday night in Carteret.
Here's another one.
Investigators say 2 SUVs boxed in a tractor-trailer on the right lane, forcing the big rig to stop. All the drivers then got out of their vehicles and fought on the side of the road. The drivers of the SUVs drove off before troopers arrived on the scene. Still unclear what sparked the encounter or if any of the drivers knew each other.
Well, we want to return back to the pandemic and our coverage of it, and each day we have invited...
Now, I was at the park today for Nucci's birthday. January 14th is when we were celebrating it with his classmates. A very select few of classmates, and then whoever invited themselves to the park. So he and so I wasn't giving opportunity to anybody other than the very few invitations I personally asked. So now we were at the park, and then there was some big ruckus at teenager level on the playground that one of the moms said one of her friends died last year in some altercation. So she called the police right away. And then the police showed up. Few of the teenagers went running. And then the rest were rumbling on the basketball or the handball court. And the police were there. My son, of course, totally oblivious to this really dangerous situation, is on the complete other side of the park, not wanting or not involved whatsoever. But again, it goes back to this situation of the teleportation device. If I have a family estate and the family house the space is being rented to something that I know what my family looks like, and we might have a house share, and there may be some uncles and whatnot, but it's somewhere between the Black Hills of South Dakota profile and what's on the monetary system that everybody has in, where most people have in this area as bartering inside their pocket. So there is no question as to who the land, whatever, or management is assigned to for solid ground in positioning oneself in an argument. So with that being said, it gets a little confusing when there is a family estate break-in, a squatter's issue for 8 years, with everybody seeming to know, some people actually taking part in making sure it happened, and the teleportation device and the false king's narrative, the fake king's narrative, was that this was a good thing. How could it possibly be a good thing when it is the largest breach of security with actual visualization in large population, easily explainable? Why is it not being explained as the largest home invasion and security breach in our lifetimes? Why is it being explained as if it's like the best thing? It's a landmark. It's so wonderful. Oh my God, the first one. The first one. And now, some years later, we have a half of a break-in. At which point there's violence that takes place for these break-ins to happen, and then it seems to be smile and wave. The problem is that it's a very verifiable visual clue to some really dangerous stuff going on, and some people not taking responsibility or acting in the best interest of what they were originally hired for. But it is clear vision. I didn't make it up, it exists, and it is clear visual clues as to major problems within the system. I'm confused where the lack of support comes in for safety, security,